By the time I turn off Sycamore Lane and nose my hatchback into my parents' driveway, the sky is the color of a ripened peach. The house looks the same as always. Cedar shutters a porch swing that never actually swings, but the glow in the front windows has a kind of stage light brightness, as if the evening has been rehearsed without me. Sunday suppers at the Hales have become a ritual I keep, even when my week has chewed me thin. I smooth the wrinkles from my slate skirt with one palm, tug the cuff of my navy blouse with the other, and sit a moment with the engine ticking down. Through the bay window, I catch the quick flare of someone's laugh, the tilt of a glass catching light. 2 knuckles on the door, then the key. That was my mother's rule when I was little: announce yourself, then come in like you belong, and it clings to me like the scent of her linen spray. Inside, thyme and lemon are warm in the air, threaded with the butterfat smell of roasted potatoes. The entryway photographs haven't moved in years, my debate trophy grin at 17. Lydia's ballet solo feet on point and eyes lifted to a ceiling we couldn't see. The summer, the 4 of us drove to the Outer Banks with a cooler of cherries and sand and everything for weeks. I can hear my mother before I see her. Elena. There you are, sweetheart. She meets me halfway down the hall, in a dress the color of uncorked wine, her silver hair swept back, pearl studs polished to a soft moon. There's a hint of peony and blush suede when she kisses my cheek. Perfect timing. The dining room is dressed for a small holiday. The good plates, linen napkins folded into tidy boats. The crystal flutes that spend 11.5 months in their box. My father stands at the end of the table, precise in a navy sweater I've never seen him wear to a regular Sunday, tilting a bottle of sparkling wine over each waiting stem. Lydia is beside the china cabinet in a deep plum cocktail dress that looks like it came with its own spotlight. Her hair has been freshly glossed. It falls over one shoulder in obedient waves. "Don't take off your coat," she says, bouncing on the balls of her feet. We're about to toast. To what I ask, sliding my toad onto the hall bench and feeling the familiar weight of my planner, my pencil case, my habit of preparedness. The word toast makes a small knot in my chest. We are not a toasting family. We are a pass the salad family, a how is work family, a remember to get your oil changed family. To the future, my father says, and his voice has that orotund warmth he uses at retirement parties. He lifts his glass. To Lydia's future. We clink. The bubbles nip at my tongue. It's dry expensive, not a wine we keep in the door of the refrigerator for company. Lydia doesn't sip so much as beam into her flute. I found it, she blurts the words hopping over one another to be first. The townhouse at Briarwood Lofts, the corner unit with a terrace, the one with the community garden, and that ridiculous rooftop lounge we put in an offer yesterday morning and they accepted this afternoon. She looks like she might levitate. I'm going to be a homeowner. That's fast, I say, aiming for lightness and finding only careful. Briarwood Lofts has been on the billboards by the freeway all year, renderings of blonde wood kitchens and ferns thriving in impossible light. The starting price on those billboards has a number that doesn't blink. We're helping with the down payment, my mother says, patting Lydia's wrist with a hand that isn't holding her glass. From the Family Growth Fund, the room tilts almost imperceptibly, as if someone has shifted one of the dining chair legs by a 1/4 inch. The Family Growth Fund. Yes. My father's smile is made to reassure. It's for major life steps, weddings, first homes. That's what we said when we started it. When we started it, I was 22 and still learning how to sign my name, so it didn't look like a practice loop from 2nd grade. I had a new job then, intake coordinator at Bray & Nolan, which meant I told people with problems where to sit and which clipboard to hold. My parents had invited me to dinner to talk about being smart. I can still see the yellow folder my father slid across the table that night, the way he spoke like a financial advisor in a commercial. Secure, sturdy, the voice of reason. A cushion, he'd said. You'll thank your future self. My mother had squeezed my hand and promised they would oversee it. Shepherd it match what I could manage when they could. They would keep it safe. For 10 years on the 1st of every month, my bank app reminded me to move $500 from my checking into the account. We named Ellison Reserve, the neutral name my father suggested the night we signed the forms, as if we were opening a small museum, and not a promise. $500 meant thrift store chairs, meant patching the knees of my work trousers so they'd last one more season, meant learning which grocery day the day-old bread rack was fullest. It meant saying no to girls' weekends, and yes to side gigs I couldn't remember how I'd agreed to. It meant calculating my future in quiet, steady clicks like a metronome no one else could hear. Lydia has her phone out now, swiping through photos of a kitchen that looks like it belongs to someone who owns copper pots and knows where to hang them. Look, she says they did the floors in herringbone. And there's a walk-in off the main bedroom that's practically a room of its own. They'll throw in the custom shelving if we close by December. It's lovely, I say, and the word lands like something set down too gently on a high shelf. The air between all of us feels shiny, slippery. If I grip it with the wrong fingers, I'll leave prints that never come off. Elena's always been sensible about these things, my father says to the middle distance, as if narrating a trait I carry like a birthmark. She understands how families support each other. Support looks different in the photographs along the hall. Lydia's car with the oversized red bow in front of the dealership, my mother's caption about our ballerina's big leap. The summer Lydia reset at the wellness center upstate, while I covered the difference in our mother's deductible on a teaching assistant's pay. The way the camera is always inches closer to my sister's face, I set my glass on a coaster and thread a smile. Bathroom, I say, and it comes out in the cheerful register of people excusing themselves from meetings they no longer need to be in. The upstairs hallway creaks in only one place, a narrow board under the faded runner that has announced me since middle school when I tried to sneak past curfew with my shoes in my hands. I lock the bathroom door, tug the brass bolt down, and stand for a moment with my fingers on the cool curve of the sink. The mirror gives me the version of me reserved for elevators and train windows, composed unobjectionable, a woman who could pass unnoticed through any room she chose. I fish my phone from my pocket and open the banking app by muscle memory. The thumbprint circle fills in. The accounts page populates. I scroll to Ellison Reserve. Previous balance 59,872. Current balance 0.00. For a second I think the Wi-Fi has dropped. The spinner in the corner winks once and disappears. I tap the transaction history. The list is clean, antiseptic. A decade of lines labeled with my initials in small, obedient type, like a child signing her homework. Deposit, deposit, deposit. Yesterday's line is different. Transfer to external account. There is a boxy feeling in my chest as if someone has placed a small parcel between my ribs and tied the string too tight. The numbers don't care how I feel. They never have. I scroll further back, as if what I'll find could be a misunderstanding that arranged itself into being without hands. The history is complete and entire. Every deposit is mine. Every deposit settles into the zero like a series of polite bows. The tiled floor is the same hexagon pattern I remember tracing with a toe when I was 8 and waiting to be called down for dessert. The light has the hum I didn't hear when I first came in. Outside the door, Lydia's voice rises and falls buoyant, as if the terrace at Briarwood already has her potted herbs. My mother answers with a softness that makes strangers adoring. My father's reply is the rumble of a man pleased with his plan. The room is very small, or I am very large in it. I breathe until the shape in my chest loosens half a knot. The woman in the mirror looks like she could recite calm. What she feels is not calm. What she feels is the precise outline of a boundary she did not know had an edge until she collided with it. The thing about money is that it pretends to be arithmetic when it is also meaning. Those deposits were my yeses and my nos stacked into a column. They were the hours I left early from parties to grade papers, the way I learned to darn socks like a woman from a different century, the bus routes I memorized because the car fund could wait if the reserve could grow. We had agreed, hadn't we, that this was mine, stewarded by them, safe as the photos under glass. Downstairs, Silver touches porcelain. Someone laughs again. For the first time, I register the champagne as a choice, not a flourish. The flutes were not set for dinner. They were set for an announcement. I picture the bottle's green neck the way my father titled his wrist to avoid the foam. I picture Lydia's ringless hand. The arithmetic rearranges itself into a story that does not include me, except as its dependable premise. I run the tap and hold my wrists under the water, the way the school nurse told us to do after fire drills. The cold makes the room come back into its dimensions. The numbers don't move. They won't. The app closes with a swipe that feels too gentle for the fact of it. I dry my hands on one of my mother's guest towels, the white ones embroidered with a tiny blue border, and hang it back exactly as I found it. The brass bolt slides up with a small, reasonable click. My own steps down the hall are quiet, not because I am sneaking, but because quiet is what the moment requires. I pass my childhood face again in glossy frames, the girl holding a ribbon, the girl holding a book, the girl who believed the rules would keep their shape if she kept hers. At the top of the stairs, I pause not for effect, but to make room inside my ribcage for breath. The house smells like thyme and lemon, and something else now, something metallic that lives in the back of the mouth when the throat wants to close. I lay my palm on the rail and feel the smooth varnish worn by other hands. Numbers are not arguments, I tell myself, they are facts. And facts are doors. I take the first step down. The staircase gives a little under my heels, as if the house itself is testing my weight. I step into the dining room, and all three faces turn toward me, their expressions still arranged for celebration. The flutes wait on their coasters like props between takes. My mother's smile is the first to flicker. "Everything all right, darling? Who authorized the transfer from Ellison Reserve?" My voice surprises me by being level. I am not loud. I am not shaking the table. I am asking about a transaction. My father's brows travel a fraction of an inch toward each other. "Elena, this isn't... Who authorized it?" He sets his glass down with the care of a man diffusing a small personal bomb. "We discussed when we formed the fund that it was for major life events." "Your mother and I..." "Did you ask me, I say, before you emptied it?" The word emptied lands like a chair being put back in the wrong place. Lydia exhales in a thin laugh. "You're being dramatic. It's not like you needed it this second." I look at her and see briefly the 7-year-old who kept feathers in a jewelry box because they were pretty and hers. Then the image slides into the woman beside the china cabinet with the plum dress and the phone ready for a photo of her own face. "Show me the statements," I say. "Elena." My mother murmurs soft and reproving. "We are celebrating your sister. Show me, please." My father leaves the room with unwilling dignity. His steps measured the way he did when leaving meetings where he had not gotten what he wanted but refused to appear hurried. The click of his office door carries down the hall. I stand at the end of the table and watch the bubbles die in 3 untouched glasses. Lydia taps her screen. "You're going to love the terrace. It gets western sun. I can do herbs and string lights." My mother's look hushes her. "We're a family," she tells me as if I forgot the word somewhere between the powder room and the stairs. My father returns with a thin leather binder and lays it on the table as if it is both evidence and absolution. He opens to a page of columns that have been my quiet arithmetic for a decade. The neat monthly deposits, the initials that are mine, the sense of counting, of tending. I slide the pages forward. 3 lines in the last 3 years have a different shape, numbers moving not in but out. Here I say, August 18,400, December 9,200. And this I tap a cluster of smaller withdrawals that taken together make a number I can feel in the muscles of my jaw. "What are these?" My father clears his throat. "Your sister had an opportunity for a certificate program at the Design Institute. Tuition isn't cheap. Then her car, she needed something reliable with winter tires. And there was a period between contracts when we helped." The reset retreat, Lydia adds, as if supplying a cheerful caption. "The one upstate with cold plunges, and that nutritionist every podcast talks about." My mother reaches for my hand, misses, when I don't give it. "This is how we move forward as a unit," she says. When one of us is at a threshold, the others step back so she can pass. I flip another page. The most recent entry is clinical in its simplicity. Transfer to external account. There is no annotation about thresholds. "You told me you would manage the account," I say, and I hear the flatness of my own voice. "You told me it would be safe. And it has been," my father says. "It's doing exactly what it was formed to do. It is supporting the family in an inflection point." Which family, I ask, and which point? The room narrows until all that exists is the white of the paper and the thin blue lines holding the numbers in their lanes. Lydia's mouth tilts into the kind of smile that has always gotten her out of late fees and into impossible restaurants. "I'm sorry you're upset, but you haven't even been dating anyone. The house is happening for me now." The sentence is so unencumbered by doubt that it feels like a new law of physics. I stack the statements, align their corners, and slide the binder back across the table. "I need copies," I say. "Elena." My mother says the tenor shifting toward warning, do not make this ugly. It already is, I answer, and the honesty of it makes something in my chest unclench. My father does not meet my eyes. The printer is in the study, he says. I take the binder, make the copies myself, and let the machine warm up with its small mechanical hum. The pages slide out warm and officious. I do not shake. I do not spill. I put the originals back in their leather cover and set it on his desk with the same care he used to bring it to me. When I return to the dining room, my coat is already over my arm. Lydia looks wounded, as if I've taken a ribbon from her hair. You're really leaving? I told you I made lemon tarts, my mother whispers, as though sugar could coax me back into a better role. Your favorite? I'm not hungry, I say, and I'm taking these. I lift the copies, not like a flag, not like a knife, simply like what they are, paper that says, "What happened?" The door catches a curl of wind as I step onto the porch. The peach light has gone to copper. Somewhere down the block, a dog barks at a nothing only it can see. I sit in my car and breathe until the air no longer feels used. The papers ride shotgun clipped beneath my planner, as if they are minutes from a meeting no one else remembers attending. At home, I lay everything out on my coffee table, the bank pages, my own notes on sticky squares, a pen whose cap cracks if you press too hard. The phone begins its performance before I've taken off my shoes. First, a text from my mother. Please call me. Your father is livid. We should not air this where people can talk. Then my father. The Hale name has endured because we handle conflict privately. Do not embarrass us. A beat later, Lydia's message finds a cheerier key. It's not as bad as you're making it. You'll see. The place is perfect for hosting. There's a guest room for you whenever. The kisses feel like lint. I brush away. A notification from social lifts itself to the top of the screen. Lydia has posted a carousel, the Briarwood sales office, a key fob with the developer's logo. Her grin angled to catch the gold of the late light. Caption, dreams have a way of finding you when you're surrounded by love. Couldn't do it without my people. Had new home, had blessed, had family first. The comments bloom fast. Congratulations from old babysitters and girls we took tap lessons with for 2 months in 5th grade. I stare long enough for the screen to dim and have to wake it with my thumb. I do not write what I am thinking. I do not ask the internet to witness my arithmetic. I turn the phone face down on the table and the relief is immediate and small. I am rinsing a glass when the knock at my door comes not apologetic, not aggressive, 2 knuckles polite and sure. When I open it, Nora is there with a paper bag hooked over one wrist and a manila folder under the other. I brought dumplings and the good soy sauce, she says, as she breezes past me toward the kitchen. And the thing you didn't ask for but need. Nora Patel has been my friend since freshman year when she annotated my Intro to Ethics essay in a different color pen than the professor, and then bought me coffee to apologize. She went to paralegal school after we graduated. She talks like a person who knows where the forms are and how to make them behave. The good soy sauce I ask following, the one that tastes like an argument you win. She lines up takeout containers on the counter, then sets the folder down next to my papers. You said they drained a joint account. You said you were the only one depositing. You said there was a promise about purpose. Am I tracking? I nod, and a spare, ungenerous part of me wants to say something wounding about how people who love you should not also have to cross-examine you to get the facts. But I breathe and tell her, because Nora has never taken anything from me except time and advice I gave freely. She flips through my copies. Okay, she says after a minute, so there's a signature card, there's the title of the account, there are the statements with your initials and dates, and there is a transfer out with no co-authorization. She taps a fingernail against the top page. Elena, this is not a discretionary family trust. This is a convenience account with you as primary holder and your parents as signers. That matters. A lot. It feels obscene, I say, to even think about legal. It would feel obscene to let it stand, she counters. And in her mouth, the sentence is not moral. It is categorical. Talk to an attorney who does fiduciary disputes and family conversions. Caleb Rios at Mercer & Dunn is good. He doesn't rattle. He also doesn't condescend, which you will appreciate. I don't want to scorch the ground, I say. Then think of it as irrigation. She answers, pinching open the dumpling box. You're redirecting the water back into the field that was supposed to be fed. I laugh, because only Nora would smuggle a metaphor into my kitchen in a bag that smells like ginger and garlic. I make tea while she makes a list in her blocky print call bank for full transaction log, request account agreement, photograph originals, consult Rios. She underlines the last item once, then again. You don't have to do anything she says, but you should know where the paths are. I sleep in the kind of pieces you wake from and can't put back in order. In the morning, the light is too enthusiastic. I dress like the version of myself who cannot be argued out of her own name and take the bus to work because ritual is a raft. My third graders do. What third graders do? They ask if clouds are heavy. They lose their glue sticks. They bring me drawings of cats with faces like fried eggs. At lunch, I call the bank and ask for the full history of the Ellison Reserve account and a copy of the original agreement. The representative's voice is syrupy and careful. She tells me I'll receive the documents via secure email by end of day. My hands leave damp crescents on the phone. At dismissal, as kids fling themselves toward parents in minivans, I see a woman waiting by the fence in a coat she saves for funerals and interviews. My mother's shoes, sensible soft black leather, look like they don't know what they're doing on asphalt painted with hopscotch squares. She waits until the last child is out of earshot. Elena. The name comes out as if it has weight she didn't anticipate. We need to talk. We are. I say and unlock my classroom door, letting her step inside. The room smells like dry erase marker and pencil shavings. She takes everything in the alphabet line above the whiteboard, the reading corner with the beanbags, the bulletin board, where I've stapled up wheel and axle collages in lopsided pride. I didn't sleep, she says. I stack a pile of worksheets, square their edges. I did in intervals. You don't understand what this is doing to your father, she says, lowering her voice out of habit, as if gossip might be hiding under a desk. You don't understand what it will do to Lydia's timeline. I look at the paper snowflakes we taped to the windows last week, their inaccurate symmetry. There were 10 years, I say. I understand time. Her mouth tightens. For once there is no script. We raised you to be strong, she says finally. Independent. You didn't need. I needed what you promised, I say, and because my students will return in 12 minutes, because there are only so many words that can fit inside a school day. I let the sentence sit where it lands. She looks smaller than she did last night, as if certainty had been part of her posture. When she leaves, she presses her palm to my forearm just above the wrist, and then draws it back as if touching the wrong surface. After the door clicks, the room feels larger by an inch. I erase the board and write in blue marker, mechanical advantage. The letters lean slightly forward, eager to be done. That evening, the secure email arrives, and with it a PDF of the account agreement we signed when I was 22. It says what Nora said it would, my name. First, my parents as signers for convenience. The transaction log is a long, cold ribbon of dates and amounts. Every deposit aligns with my pay schedule. Every withdrawal has a line, a date, an outflow that borrows my breath. Nora texts, Rios can see you at 4 tomorrow. I told him you're not a fire breather. He said he isn't either. The next afternoon, I sit across from a man with gray at his temples and a tie that looks like it was ironed by someone who loves him. Caleb Rios listens, the way some people sing with their whole face. He reads the agreement, taps a pen against the signature card, traces the transaction list with a finger that stops twice on the largest withdrawals. This is not a trust, he says. It is not even a joint tenancy with equal rights. It is your account. They had access. That is not the same as permission. My parents. I say and feel foolish for naming the relationship as if it should change the arithmetic. He nods, which is why we begin by giving everyone the opportunity to behave like people who are capable of correction. There are letters we can send. There are calls we can make. There are institutions that care about authorization. You decide the temperature. I don't want to set anything on fire, I say. Then we use water, he answers, and I suppress a smile at the echo of Nora's irrigation. Calm pressure, documentation. You do not have to convince anyone of your feeling. You only have to show the paper. When I leave his office, dusk has gone navy. My phone rings as I am unlocking my building. The number is unfamiliar area code from the coast. I almost let it go to voicemail and then answer, Elena. The voice is female, warm in a way that knows its warmth. It's Vivian, your aunt. I have not spoken to my father's sister in years. She moved to Santa Fe after what the family called a misunderstanding about the disposition of our grandmother's things. Aunt Viv. I say the name tasting like a fruit I haven't had since childhood. How did you— Nora sent me your number, she says, unapologetic. She and I play words with friends. She says you're in a spot. I lean my back against the door key still in the lock. That would be one way to describe it. They did a version of it to me, she says, conversational, as if we are passing a bowl of olives. The gold brooch with the tiny seed pearls, your grandmother left it to me in her will. Your father said heirlooms should consolidate to the main line. I let him talk me out of what was written because I thought peace was more valuable than a pin. She pauses. That was the first time. There were others. The hallway is quiet enough to hear my upstairs neighbor's radio bleed through the floorboards. I didn't know. Of course you didn't, she says. Silence is the most efficient solvent. It unglues everything before you even realize what was stuck. Her tone softens. Listen to me. You are not wrong to insist on the terms you agreed to. You are not cruel to refuse to be remade into a more convenient shape. I picture the hexagon tile in my parents' bathroom, the way each piece holds the ones around it in place. I don't want to become someone I don't recognize, I say. You won't, she answers. You'll become someone you always were. You'll just be visible to yourself. We talk for 10 minutes more practicalities. Names the way paper makes people who love you behave like people who owe you. When we hang up, I hold the phone a moment longer and then go inside. The apartment smells faintly of tea and printer ink. I take a sheet of paper from the stack on my desk and write one sentence in my square deliberate print. I do not underline it. I do not make it a motto. I set the page on top of the statements so it is the first thing I will see when I sit down again. Enough! The single word I wrote enough sits on top of the stack like a paperweight. In the morning, I carry it with the statements to Caleb's office and watch him draft letters while the copier murmurs in the next room. He does not dramatize. He lists account numbers, dates titles, and the terms of authority like coordinates on a map. One letter to the bank's compliance department disputing the transfer and requesting immediate restriction of any further movement tied to the outflow. One to my parents formal as a wedding invitation stating the facts and the relief sought restoration in full, with interest documented within 7 business days. A third goes to the escrow account for Briarwood Lofts advising that the source transfer is contested and under review. Calm pressure, he says, sliding each page for my signature. No adjectives. I sign where he marks with a yellow flag. The ink looks steadier than my pulse. He folds seals and sets the envelopes aside for courier service. When I leave, a thin, practiced engine has already started to hum in rooms I'm not in. By lunchtime, the bank calls me back in the trained syrup of a public-facing voice. Ms. Hale, we've received the correspondence from counsel, the woman says. We've placed a hold related to the transfer in question pending our internal review. You'll receive an email confirming the case number. It is not victory. It is not even safety. It is a cord stretched across a doorway so people can't pass without noticing. My father calls next. I watch his name ring through while I fish my house keys from my tote. I answer because silence has its own way of being used. Elena, the syllables are clipped. What have you done to the bank? Asserted authorization requirements, I say. This is family business. It became bank business when you use the bank. He breathes through his nose like someone who just remembered he's wearing a tie. We could have settled this privately. You had 10 years to talk to me privately. I'm keeping things in writing now. He is quiet for a beat too long, then hangs up in a way that suggests principled restraint. The invitation to dinner arrives the old-fashioned way by text from Aunt Ruth, my mother's sister, who prefers neutrals and control. Come by tomorrow, 7 p.m., just us. We should clear the air. The phrase clear the air lands like a scented candle trying to overpower a burned roast. I go because I know what they want from me, and I want to hear it out of their mouths. Aunt Ruth's dining room looks like a catalog called Serenity Beige Rug Taupe Chairs, a runner the color of a latte. Uncle Dennis sits at the head, as if the chair came with a gavel. My cousins Mason and Tessa are already there, both in sweaters that telegraph success without joy. My parents arrive 5 minutes late in a united front. Lydia is right behind them with an expression she used to reserve for cast lists posted outside the auditorium. We sit. The food is careful and saltless. Conversation tiptoes around the reason we've gathered. At some point, Uncle Dennis taps his fork on the rim of his water glass like a parish councilman. We want to help you, Elle, he says. We're worried you're letting lawyers drive wedges in a place meant for love. I hired counsel because someone drove through my account, I say, folding my napkin. My voice is even. The napkin has a faint smell of lavender. Mason leans forward, elbows ambitious. Lydia has always had big plans, he says. Design school, the lifestyle blog, the wellness partnerships. She's building something. You're solid steady. This kind of thing won't set you back like it would her. I'm a teacher, I say, because that's the actual word for what I am. I build things too. They're just not monetized. Tessa sets down her glass carefully. You're not married. You don't have children. The house will give Lydia a foundation for. A decade of deposits was supposed to give me a foundation, I say. No one reaches for the roasted carrots. My mother tries a softer lane. Think of milestones, she says. Weddings, first homes, these are passages. We step aside to let one another through. What does stepping aside look like? I ask when the hallway has only one door, and my foot has been on the threshold for years. My father shifts in his chair. We can make this simpler, Elena. We will return a third of the funds. Equitable. Clean. He looks satisfied with the geometry. It was never yours to divide, I answer. Not hot, not pleading, just stating what the paper says. Lydia's chair scrapes the rug. This is humiliating, she says. I told everyone. That is not my doing, I say, and sip water that tastes faintly of the fridge. Dinner ends, the way those dinners end. Plates scraped lightly, people kissing air at the front door, as if a performance had concluded. Outside, the night is a clear, thin blue that makes my breath feel square. On my walk home, my phone vibrates. Lydia has posted again, this time a photograph taken in front of a sold placard. A man I recognize from the margins of her life, Jason, the one with glossy hair and a watch you could shave with, has his arm around her shoulders. Her left hand is turned deliberately toward the camera. The caption reads, "He asked." I said yes. New ring, new home, new chapter, grateful beyond words. Had said ye our new home. Blessed. I don't like the way the word grateful sits next to a picture of my balance at 0 in my head. I type a comment, then erase it, then type it again shorter. Congratulations on your engagement. I hope your house brings you as much joy as 10 years of saving brought me. The screen offers a small blue post. I press it. My thumb doesn't tremble. By morning, the post has more than 200 likes and a vein of brittle replies. Yikes, someone from high school writes. Take it offline. Someone else adds the internet's favorite small authority. I close the app and feed my class a lesson about pulleys. Nothing breaks when you use the right fulcrum. At recess, the secure email arrives from the bank, an official case number confirmation that a hold has been placed on the transfer while authorization is reviewed, a sentence crafted by legal that manages to be both specific and unhelpful. I forward it to Caleb. He replies with a single line. Good. We'll keep going. That afternoon, my mother is waiting on the stoop of my building holding a bakery box, as if the pink twine could lasso me back. When I unlock the door, she steps inside the vestibule, the scent of lemon curd flitting out of the box like an apology. Your father is sick over this, she says low. So am I. We did not mean to hurt you. You meant to do it quietly, I say. That's different. Can't we fix this without dragging strangers into our business? She looks for the softest piece of me and aims. Caleb is not a stranger, I say. He is a witness. Paper is a witness. You raised me to keep records. I don't reach for the box. She looks down at it, then up, and for a second, the practiced lines in her face loosen in a way that makes her look like my mother again, the one who used to twist my hair into a braid on the first day of school and tell me my brain was the best thing in any room I entered. Yeah. She leaves with the box still in her hands. 2 days later, we all sit around a table that is not a dining table. Caleb's conference room is walnut and glass. The blinds are angled narrowly, letting in just enough winter light to keep the room from feeling like a photograph. I can hear the copy machine down the hall doing its quiet work of making things repeatable. My parents enter together. Lydia, a beat behind. My father's jaw is the hinge on a door he has locked forever. My mother has chosen a bracelet that sounds like ice in a glass every time she shifts her wrist. Lydia stares at the panoramic photograph of a city skyline on the wall, as if it might offer an alternate ending. Caleb opens a folder, slides 3 sets of documents forward, and speaks in a voice tuned to the room. "Thank you for coming. I want to begin by making sure we're all looking at the same facts." He lays out the account agreement, the signature card, the transaction history, the bank's acknowledgement of the hold. No heat, no adjectives. Ms. Hale is the primary account holder. Mr. and Mrs. Hale are signers. The recent transfer occurred without Ms. Hale's authorization. Under the terms of the account, and under the law that is not permitted, my father leans back, hands steepled. We established that account for family milestones. We explained its purpose to Elena when she was just starting out. We have managed it to meet those purposes. Caleb nods once. Intent is not the instrument. The instrument is the agreement you signed. He taps the first page lightly with his pen. This is not a discretionary trust. There is no language permitting unilateral transfers by signers. The bank recognizes one owner. That owner is Ms. Hale. Lydia inhales through her nose as if she's about to dive. So what she says she gets to undermine my closing because she's jealous. We've already scheduled movers. I have brand partnerships lined up. I've told my followers. Caleb turns the page. We're not here to discuss a marketing plan, he says, and the line lands softly but does not move. My mother's voice finds a familiar tremor. We did what we thought was best for the family. Best has to live somewhere, I say, and hear how the words sound in this room. Not performative, not defensive, just true. You told me you were shepherding a reserve for me. Every line here is my deposit. When you needed help for Lydia, you could have asked. Instead, you took. They look at me like I have joined the opposition, which in a way, I have the side that keeps the promises it makes to itself. Caleb brings out a second document. Here is a proposed settlement, he says. Full restoration of the withdrawn balance plus interest calculated at the statutory rate from each date of outflow to the present. We have included a mutual non-disparagement provision and a release conditioned upon payment. Once executed and funded, Ms. Hale will withdraw her dispute with the bank regarding the transfer. We expect funding within 5 business days. My father's mouth thins. You expect? I insist, Caleb says, still in that courtroom soft tone because the paper does. Lydia slaps her hand on the table, a flat sound that startles even her. I can't believe this. I will look ridiculous. You will look like someone who lives in a rental for a little longer, I say. You will look like someone who did not buy a house with money that wasn't hers. She stands, then sits her chair, scraping the laminate rug in a noise everyone pretends they didn't hear. You're punishing me. I'm protecting what's mine, I say, the way I was told to when I was little, and you made me label my lunchbox so the apples wouldn't get mixed up. My mother makes a small wounded sound. Elena. Caleb slides a pen across the table toward my father, as if this were an ordinary Thursday, and we were signing for a delivery. It's straightforward, he says. I can walk you through the interest calculation if you'd like. My father stares at the numbers as if staring has ever made numbers blink. The room is so quiet, you can hear the light buzzing above us. Finally, he takes the pen. His signature is blockier than I expected. He pushes the papers toward my mother. Her hand trembles. The bracelet clicks. She signs in slanted loops. She does not look up. Caleb turns to me. Here, he says gently. I sign on the lines with my name on them, the same square print I used on the sheet that says enough. When the pens are capped and the papers gathered, silence sits down with us like a fifth person. Lydia stands so abruptly the chair legs complain. I hope you're satisfied, she says to the air near my shoulder. I have to unbox my entire life again because you decided to make a point. I decided to correct a ledger, I say. She leaves before I finish the sentence, the door releasing her into the hallway with an efficient pneumatic sigh. My mother follows, pausing only long enough to tuck her scarf into her coat's collar, in the way she does when she doesn't know where to put her hands. My father lingers. He looks older at this angle. You've always been so capable, he says, finally, as if the word is an indictment. I didn't think you would. He doesn't finish. I believed you, I say. That was the shape of my mistake. He nods once, almost imperceptibly, and leaves without shaking anyone's hand. Caleb collects the signed pages into his folder with neat habitual motions. The bank will move quickly once they receive confirmation, he says. I'll have them wire funds to an account you specify. For now, keep your copies somewhere that feels safe. I slip my set into the file pocket of my tote. The paper is heavier than it should be, or maybe I am lighter for carrying it. In the corridor, the afternoon tilts toward evening. The elevators sing their small, indifferent chime. Outside winter air takes the heat from my face in one steady breath. I stand on the sidewalk and look down at my hands. They are the hands that sign the hands that carry the hands that hold. The city moves around me, buses exhaling as cyclists threading the light, a woman laughing into her scarf, and none of it knows my name. I don't need it to. I walk toward the corner where the bus will open its doors, the folder tucked flat against my side like a letter I finally mailed to the right address. The wire confirmation lands in my inbox mid-morning, a string of digits that looks like a bar of quiet music. Caleb forwards the bank's notice with a brief funds posted. I take a breath that reaches the bottom of my ribs and walk to the branch on the corner during my lunch period. The teller slides a cashier's check under the glass. It has my name in a font so formal it feels like a benediction. On the way back to school, I stop at the office and write another check small beside the first to the student fund we use for field trips and application fees. The principal blinks at the amount, from where he asks not unkindly. A return, I say. Something that should have stayed with me finding its way back. House hunting is smaller than the billboards make it. No ferns in impossible light. No rooftop lounges. I see a bungalow with ceilings that want to be taller, and a duplex that smells like old rain. Then a realtor named Janet unlocks a cottage on Maple Street, and my body recognizes the rooms before my mind thinks to. 2 bedrooms, a square kitchen with cabinets someone painted butter years ago. Wood floors that will hold the scuffs I give them. The living room faces east. Morning will arrive directly. Out back, an oak lifts its shoulders over a narrow yard, and a robin startles upward as if surprised by us both. The closing happens at a title office with carpet the color of oatmeal. The clerk points to lines with a cap pen and says, "Here, here, and here." I sign, slide sign. The keys are heavier than they look. When the front door of the cottage opens for the first time with my hand on the knob, the lock clicks like a sentence finally ending with the right punctuation. The rooms echo. I sweep, and the dust moves in the way dust always moves, stubborn and loyal. On the first night, I eat noodles out of a bowl on the floor and listen to the heating kick on and off the house, discovering the temperature I prefer. I lean the framed photographs I've boxed for years against the mantel kids on a playground rope bridge. Nora laughing with her eyes closed, Aunt Viv in a straw hat that has seen more sun than I have. I learn the house in increments, the light that slips under the bedroom shade at 6 a.m., the loose board on the back step, the way the oak gives the yard a slow green privacy when it leaves. The neighbor across the fence is an old man named Leon, who knows when trash day is without looking it up. I plant basil in a long terracotta trough and start a line of purple coneflowers along the walkway, little suns with good posture. Aunt Viv arrives one Saturday with gloves, a kneeling pad, and a bag of bulbs. She calls old-fashioned the way your grandmother liked them. We kneel in the damp and tuck the bulbs into the dark, cool dirt. "Seed pearls," she says suddenly, and I know she's thinking about the brooch that didn't stay hers. We don't say the word stolen. We don't need to. Later at my narrow table, we drink iced tea, and she squints up at the oak. "That's a good tree," she says. "It'll teach you patience without making you pay for it." When she leaves, the dirt under my nails feels like proof. A week turns, then another. The cottage begins to smell like me citrus soap pencil shavings from the stack of ungraded spelling tests I bring home on Thursdays, a pan that holds the shadow of onions. Some evenings, Nora walks over with a loaf from the bakery near her office and tells me with satisfaction what form she made misbehave. Other nights, I am quiet with a book while the breeze lifts the thin curtains and sets them back down. My mother appears at the garden gate on a late spring afternoon. She doesn't open it. She stands with her hands clasped around the strap of her purse and looks at the flowers as if they might tell her what to say. The sun has made her pearl studs too bright. "Elena," she says, and my name is careful in her mouth. "Your yard is very you." "Come in," I say, and she pauses as if the latch might test her, and then lifts it and steps through. Up close, I can see the places where her foundation didn't quite catch the fine lines she is still learning to admit. We stand for a moment, two women in a small garden, both remembering other doors. "I've been thinking," she says finally, and the words are not a preface to a lesson. They are a plank laid between two banks. About promises. About how we told you we would keep something safe, and then acted as if the telling was enough. She blinks. "I didn't." She stops, corrects herself. "I didn't look closely. Your father prefers decisions to conversation. I let that preference be our policy. I know I say." The breeze lifts a strand of her silver hair. She exhales a rickety laugh and nods. Inside, I warm the pot she gave me when I moved into my first apartment, the one with the spout that pours a little too fast. We sit at the narrow table and watch the kettle. She reaches for a napkin and then doesn't fold it. "I can't ask you to forget," she says. "I don't either, but I am here." "I am too," I say. We drink. The tea is too strong and exactly right. She tells me Lydia and Jason move their closing back and then forward again, that they are unpacking ceramic planters and arguing about a couch. She doesn't ask for absolution. I don't offer it. When she stands to go, she looks around the room that is still soft with emptiness and says, "Your grandmother would have liked that you found a place with light." "Me too," I say. After she leaves, the house feels like it has caught its balance after a gust. I open the windows and let the afternoon carry itself across the floors. In early summer, the cone flowers open with unembarrassed cheer. I take a photograph and send it to Aunt Viv, who writes back "Atta girl," and a picture of a pie that looks as if it knows it is admired. Leon tells me he once had a dog that slept under this same oak and chased nothing into dog years. He mimes the dog's loping run with his hands, and I can almost see it, the shape of devotion moving through the grass. On a Saturday evening, people come. Nora brings dumplings and another bottle of the argument-winning soy sauce. Caleb arrives in a shirt his daughter picked and a small chocolate cake from a bakery that will never advertise. A teacher from down the hall shows up with a fistful of wildflowers wrapped in a wet paper towel. Aunt Viv calls in from her porch, and I prop my phone against the sugar bowl so she can see plates and elbows and the slanted sun across the table. No one makes a toast. Conversation puddles and lifts. Forks touch plates. The oak pulls the heat off the day by degrees. At some point, I notice we have stayed past the need to be interesting. When they go, there are leftovers and a glow on the window glass that looks like the house is breathing. Later, I sweep. I set the cups in the rack with their mouths open to the ceiling. On the porch, night gathers without drama. A moth visits the porch light and leaves. Somewhere, a radio murmurs 2 houses over. I sit and listen to the far-off hiss of tires on wet pavement that doesn't exist, the mind's version of weather. My hands rest on my knees. The ring of keys lies on the small table beside me. For once, they are simply keys, not symbols. In the bedroom, I pick up the page I wrote weeks ago and set it in a drawer. The drawer closes with a soft thud of something correctly fit. I turn off the lamp. The dark is not empty. It has its own contours, its own soft edges. The house settles around me, and I let it. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. I'll see you next time as we continue exploring more journeys and lessons together.